Today I'm going to be changing a wheel bearing on this Hyundai Accent. So the first thing you want to do is lift up the vehicle, take the wheel off. Once you get the wheel off, the first thing I'm doing here is removing the cotter pin on the axle. That'll give me access to remove the axle nut for when we need to slide the axle out further on in the video. So the next thing you want to do is locate both caliper bolts on the back side of the caliper. I like to use little bungee cords to hold up the caliper while I have it removed from the rotor, just so it doesn't put any strain on the brake line. So once you locate some bungee cords or something to hold up the caliper, you can go ahead and remove both caliper bolts. So the bolts are two 17 millimeters. They come off pretty easy with an impact gun. But if you don't have access to one, they'll also come off pretty easily with a ratchet. Once you get the caliper off, you'll be able to slide off the rotor. Sometimes they do get rusted on there, so you might have to hit it a little bit on the face with a hammer. You want to hit in the middle where the wheel studs are. You don't want to hit on the surface of the rotor if you're going to be reusing the rotor. The next thing I'm going to be doing is removing the tie rod end from the knuckle. For this, it's only one bolt. Spin that out, and then you can give it a few taps on the side of the knuckle with a hammer, and that'll break it free, and it should slide right out. Next, I'm going to be loosening the bolt for the lower ball joint. It's a 19 millimeter bolt. You'll need to use a wrench to get it out. It's pretty tight in there with the axle and everything. So once you break that free, you should be able to spin it out with a wrench. And then again, once you get the bolt out, you just give it a tap with a hammer on the side of the knuckle, and it'll break the ball joint free. So once you get that out, you're ready to take the pinch bolts out from the strut. This is a 17 millimeter nut and bolt. They come apart pretty easily with an impact gun again. Once you get the nuts off, you'll just want to tap them lightly with a hammer. Try not to damage the threads. Sometimes they do get a little bit seized in there on older cars, but they will slide out eventually. So I got the bearing out. Now I'm ready to remove the snap ring. This one is very seized in there, so it took a little bit of time to get it out, but I was able to get it out after a bit. To get the center hub out, what I usually do is grab a socket with an extension, and I just hit it with a hammer, and usually it pops right out. If it doesn't come out fairly easy, I'll throw it on the press and press it out that way. So here I had to heat up the snap ring a lot to get it out. It was pretty much rusted all in one piece. But with a little bit of heat and a little bit of work, I was able to get it out so I could change the bearing. So here's just a trick that I've been using for a very long time now to get bearing races off the hub. I just get a socket with an extension, and you spin the hub on the socket while heating it up with a torch, and the race just slides right off. So once you get the hub out and the snap ring out, you're ready to press out the old bearing, and then you'll be all set to press in the new one. You always want to make sure that you clean the groove for the snap ring really good, just because of all the rust and stuff that was built up in it before. You want to make sure the new snap ring sits in very good. So now I'm ready to press in the new bearing. You want to make sure that you start it off straight and flush. If you notice that the bearing is going in any bit sideways at all, you're going to want to stop and check your press and make sure everything's lined up the way it should be. Once you get the bearing all pressed in, you'll be ready to put in the hub. While you're pressing in the hub, you want to always spin the knuckle with the hub while you're pressing it in to make sure nothing is binding up as you're pressing it down. So once that's all in, you're ready to put your snap ring on. Be careful, some cars you'll have to put the snap ring on before you press in the hub, but on this particular car you can put the snap ring on after. So now once the bearing is all pressed into the hub, you're ready to put everything back together the way it was. Make sure you triple check your work and make sure everything is installed correctly. And yeah, thanks for watching.